Hey guys, Justin Martin from the Harvest Concept, Harvest Martial Arts here, and today I want to talk about something that's a big challenge for us as martial artists, but also as people, and I like to call this the worst thing. And so if you've looked at my previous videos where I'm talking about one thing at a time, changing your life, and then go, just having that perseverance to get through the situations, these are examples of training that we take from martial arts and putting it into our everyday life. And so today, talking about the worst thing, this is a very personal thing that we have to acknowledge for ourselves. And so this isn't something that I can teach a student in a classroom. This isn't something that we can learn necessarily all the time on the mat. Sometimes we have to really look back at what's holding us back and see how we can change it on our own. The worst thing means that I need to find the thing that's holding me back from what I want to achieve, and I need to eliminate that from my life. When I say that I need to eliminate it from my life, that means that I need to cut it out. And we talk about one thing at a time, changing these things in our lives that are something that's holding us back, or the thing that we need to change to propel us further in what we're doing. A couple years ago, I competed in the World Hamudo Hyungkim Championship, and I knew that if I wanted to win the cup, that I had to work as hard as I could, and I needed to cut out all the slack that I could in my life to make sure that I was focused 100% on my training and getting my body ready for that tournament. When getting prepared for a tournament, there's a couple of factors to it. I have to be in peak physical condition. So that means that I need to escalate my training and be able to ramp it up, especially right before the tournament, and then cool it back down so my body can rest right there before the tournament, but I can be in really good shape. Number two, the other element of the tournament is that I'm preparing forms. And so there's a lot of rehearsal and practice and preparation that goes into that tournament. Going into that tournament, I knew that I didn't want to cut myself any slack, and so I really started focusing hard on my diet. As you can see, I try to keep myself in a pretty trim, slim condition, and so there are still elements of my diet that I can cut out and focus on. I also knew that I needed to make sure that I wasn't staying up too late, I wasn't having too much to drink, I wasn't focusing on other elements outside my life. I really needed to push hard into that tournament. And so I made daily practice routines and set myself up for success. 2 days before the tournament, I was in practice and I tore my hip labrum. So this is like an O-ring that goes around the hip, and all your nerves run through it. So when I say I tore it, my doctor said that I just pretty much destroyed it. And it was barely hanging on by the time they got me in there for surgery. I went on and competed in the tournament, and I won the Hyungkim Cup that year. And so that was a big thing for me as a person, because I knew that I could do it. I knew that I could set myself up for success, and I could change the way that I was training to be a winner. Martial arts is about goals, and I'm pretty sure that I've said this in my previous videos. And so in these goals, when we have the goals that come to us and that we accomplish and achieve, we have to take those and note them in ourselves. All right? So I knew that what I did worked training for that tournament. And so now all of a sudden I can take that same process and I can put it into other things. Musashi says in the Book of Five Rings that once you know the way, you can do the way, or find the way in all things, okay? And so what this means is that I now understand how to set myself up for success, to pass a test, to go through a tournament. Whatever I need to do, I can know that I can do it. So let's get back to the worst thing. I said earlier that I had some dietary issues that I was taking care of during that tournament time, because I wanted to get as in the best condition as I could. So that meant I was cutting out any extra sugar. I was cutting out any alcohol. I was making sure that my diet was as positive in nutrients and as high energy as I could. I was working out heavily, so I needed to have time and I needed to have rest for my body so it could recover. So these were all elements that I had to find in my schedule. And so when I say the worst thing, it's not always a negative thing when you look at it on its own. Sometimes the worst thing could be just spending too much time with your family. And I say that it sounds so terrible when I say it because I love my family. But you know what? I find time with my family that I should be giving in other areas of my life sometimes. I am a great dad, I feel like, and I spend a lot of time with my family, and I love on my family and my kids and my wife, but there's also time that I have to devote to other things. Just like anybody has to go to, or most people have to go to work to pay those bills, I have to do the same. So I have to be able to shut off the time with the family and go to work and make money for us to survive on. At the same time, that Hyun Kim Cup was a big part of my career. I needed to win that cup, or I felt that I needed to win the cup to get myself to the next stage. And so me doing that was part of my work. I had to devote time to that. So it meant it took time away from my family. But that's not a negative thing. Everybody, like I said, has to go to work. Everybody has their sacrifices that we have to make to accomplish the goals that we're looking at doing. So trying to say that just hanging out with my family and kids, that's not a bad thing. But when I'm talking about preparing for a tournament or devoting my time to building a business or making myself better in this other way, then I need to make sure that I'm devoting time to it also. And so taking time away from that family, that might be the worst thing that I have to do, is actually give myself time to be able to prepare. Okay? Maybe it's too many Reese's Cups. I love Reese's Cups, and so that's one of those downfalls. If they're around, then I like to grab one, or cookies, or donuts, or whatever else that sweet tooth might find. But if that's sitting in front of me, then that's a problem. And so I knew that I needed to cut that out. I needed to be lean and clean. Not having those drinks at the end of the night, sitting around having a beer or a glass of wine, that's going to detriment my next morning of training. And so every day I needed to prepare myself and cut out those things that were hindering me from being the best performance that I can have. So how do we take this back and we put it back into our lives? Well, we've said that we're looking at one thing at a time, right? And so as you start to get better at this and you're starting to cut things out of your life, then we have to have a plan of what we're going to pick next. And so this is where the worst thing comes in. I have to look at what's holding me back or not letting me excel to that next level of the goals that I want to reach. And so when that's happening, I have to look at it and go, man, this is the worst thing over here. This is what's holding me back. It's the Reese's Cups, or this is the Diet Cokes that are pulling me away from reaching my weight goals, okay? These are the things that hold us back from our goals, and we got to cut them out. Maybe it's video games, and you would like to sit around playing video games, but we have to nix that stuff so we have the time that we need to devote to ourselves to accomplish. All right, so Dave Ramsey talks about snowballing your debt, and what he likes to talk about is when somebody's trying to get debt-free, he wants you to pick the smallest thing first. And this is something that is definitely in line with what we're talking about with the one thing at a time. And as we work our way up and get better at it, I'm not telling you to quit smoking cigarettes and throw your cigarettes out and quit cold turkey. That doesn't work for everybody. Sometimes you have to build yourself up, and maybe it's one cigarette today less. Maybe you're now at the point where you're limiting yourself to 1 or 2 cigarettes per day. Maybe it's 1 soda a day, okay? But we're gonna start working our way in. And as we build that energy up, this motivation, this goal setting and accomplishments, and we now believe in ourselves, we're being motivated to do what we're doing, then all of a sudden it's snowballing and building up. And so the effort that we're taking to put into the one thing, we're now going to keep applying that to the next thing as we go bigger and bigger. They say it takes a couple years to really set in a transformation. And so when we look at white belts to black belt, that's a 3 to 4 year process for most people. And so the first couple years, we're trying to set the body up and the mind up to understand these new goals and develop the new systems. As we are moving through that, we're changing little things. We're tweaking along the way. Maybe it's our diet, we're tweaking, we're trying to lose some weight. Maybe we're getting fitter and stronger and our muscles are sore, but we're getting more flexible, we're stronger, we're able to move better. All these things are things that we're working towards, and after a couple years it starts to become our new rhythm. And so this new rhythm sets me up because now I'm more in tune to do the right thing than the wrong thing. And when I do the wrong thing, all of a sudden it throws off my new rhythm, right? So this is part of this snowball effect that we're working towards the right way, and it's harder and harder for the big snowball to stop once it's built up motion, right? It's built up its energy, it's going. And so now we're able to take on bigger and bigger tasks and find these things that are the worst thing in our life and cut it out, okay? And so once we cut that thing out and you can get past it, you can feel how good it feels to not have that in your life anymore, then we can get stuff accomplished. I used to tell people all the time that changing your diet is very much akin to quitting smoking or stop drinking and using alcohol. So when someone decides to quit smoking or drinking alcohol, then they're going to have to go through the process of becoming unaddicted. Even if they say that they're not addicted or they're very mildly addicted, their body's still going to go through some time. You can see this just with caffeine. I like to drink coffee, I like to drink tea, and if I go without coffee or caffeine for a couple days, then what starts to happen? My body starts going, hey, what's going on here? You got a headache now, you're not feeling good, you're feeling lethargic, and that's that addiction, the body saying, hey, we need this. What's going on here? We're relying on that. And I didn't feel that when I was giving it what it wanted, okay? I don't necessarily know how bad it feels to be hungover every day if I'm drinking every day to that point. I don't really know how bad it feels to be a non-smoker that just smoked a cigarette if I'm smoking cigarettes every day, because this is my normal. And so when I take that normal away and now I'm getting used to the new normal that changed me, and I allow my body to have the time to process it, all of a sudden now I have the understanding of what I was before. Okay? So the old me that needed a cigarette every day, that drank every day because I needed that, that's what I thought I needed. Now I want to feel good. I want to have that workout every day. I want to feel stronger every day. I like the idea that my muscles are sore, that I'm tired, and my body's getting addicted to that instead. Now I'm returning the worst thing with positive things. Okay? So these are the changes that we're trying to make as we move through this. Again, as we start to pick these things in our lives that we're cutting out, we're changing, that we're stopping to prevent us from being held back, we have to keep working towards it. So again, this is not something that is just because I'm overweight, or just because I'm drinking alcohol, or just because I'm smoking cigarettes, or just because my diet is terrible. These are something that I still have to deal with. You know, I'm years into sustainable living, growing gardens, hunting for my food, training every day in martial arts and archery, and bettering myself through martial arts and through nutrition and through healthy living, holistic living. And so for me, there's still things in my life that hold me back. Just like I said with the sugar. Just because I live this way doesn't mean that I don't still have devices that I can cut out, especially when I'm trying to hit a peak performance. In martial arts, we talk about the peak performance being a testing or a tournament. And so in life, when we say that we're preparing for a peak performance, maybe it's having a kid. Maybe it's getting in shape so you can play with your kid. Maybe it's working and creating a new business. All these things are going to require focus. They're going to require a lot of effort and a lot of time. And you have to prepare yourself for those. And you do this by working yourself up to it and then continuing to find the worst thing to cut out so you can keep propelling yourself forward. See you guys.